This is the fourth of the series of short presentations that explore some of the myths in current day risk management. We manage risk to improve decision making so that it makes it more likely that our subsequent actions contribute as much as possible to the achievement of our goals and objectives. This is the true and only purpose for risk management. However, unfortunately, some in the risk management profession seem determined to make what is actually a quite simple and useful concept much more complex and opaque. These series of presentations seek to demonstrate how confused and confusing is the way many of our profession explain how we should manage risk. Myth number 4 is about risk registers. And these pieces of paper seem to have taken upon a life of their own. They almost seem to be the true purpose of risk management for some organisations. The creation of the risk register. Just its existence is enough to manage risk. Some seem to believe that these risk registers actually possess magic properties. Just by creating them is sufficient for the organisation to manage risk effectively. However, in reality, they're simply records of discussions that were held at some point in time. They're just snapshots. At the most, risk registers are a means to an end, and the end is more effective controls and an acceptable level of risk. Many organisations believe that good risk management means they must generate and store a large number of pieces of information in their risk register, even if there's no clear intentions as to their end use. The tests that organisations should apply to these documents that are supposed to be records of the conversations that took place are they really useful and usable? What management activity did the information supposedly support? Is the information suited to those purposes? Can a normal person read and understand them? Can those who should use the registers read and understand them and appreciate the conversations that took place and draw the correct conclusions? To do this really only requires a few columns. And yet so many organisations have many columns of information in their risk registers, most of which nobody seems to have regard to or use. And the descriptions in the columns tend to involve a lot of acronyms or jargon, or because the fact that we're using a spreadsheet or a table with very narrow columns, we can't express ourselves fully. In practice, risk registers only require a few pieces of information that are expressed using clear descriptions, avoiding jargon or acronyms. And while it is custom and practice to use landscape-orientated tables or spreadsheets, I'm afraid these inevitable columns lead to compromises in quality and understanding. Maybe it's time to move on. Maybe it's time to create records of these conversations in other forms. For example, why not just have the discussion about the risk and the record of that discussion on one page and include a lot more useful and meaningful information? Some thoughts for you. Many organisations seem to spend an enormous amount of energy and time updating the only risk register. But rationally, it's very difficult to see the validity or value in this. If a risk register is the only form of record we think we should make of the conversations we have on risk, then we are faced by a decision. Then we must either generate and keep numerous risk registers or move to some other form of database or system. However, more practically, maybe we should challenge this custom and rethink whether we need to record and keep the results of these conversations at all. In particular, in that each decision should involve some form of risk assessment, and particularly the most important decisions should include a proper risk assessment. Each one of those should generate a risk register. So how in your organisation can you store this information and analyze it and use it if you only keep it on spreadsheets or in Word tables. I believe it's entirely possible we don't need to create and preserve these long-winded, complex documents after all, and really they're just a means to an end. Context statements, risk treatment plans, control assurance plans are much, much more important and valuable, but, regrettably, most organisations don't keep those. Do you preserve these vital pieces of information? Thank you.